Welcome to the Hunt, Fish, Travel Podcast, the show that works really, really hard to interview folks that are going to provide you the information and inspiration for your next hunting or fishing trip. I am your hostess, Carrie Z. But before we jump into the show, I'd like to remind you that Spy Point is the show's biggest sponsor. They pretty much help keep the lights on, so be sure to check out the Hunt, Fish, Travel Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok pages for Trail Cam Tuesday photos and videos. They recently launched the Flex M. So this amazing little trail cam, let me tell you, is priced with the budget-conscious hunter in mind. I mean, let's face it, we all have to budget these days. And it really is the best value in cellular trail cameras right now. The Flex M, it makes switching to cellular easier than ever before by providing incredible quality. It's at an unbeatable price. It has true dual SIM technology. Yes, I'm reading this. The Flex M comes preloaded with 2 pre-activated SIM cards, which is awesome. It ensures cross-carrier coverage, which is even more awesome. It's on all major cellular networks, and it has continuous connectivity on the best coverage in the area. So the setup is simple. It's got mobile activation, on-camera buttons that allow you to format the required. It's got the micro SD cards, so I mean, you have to buy one, but I mean, they're like $10 if you go to Cabela's. You can go to huntfishtravel.com/Cabela's and buy one. You can take a test photo, works great, and the camera offers 4 capture modes: photo, video, time-lapse, and time-lapse plus. So it's pretty cool. This episode is also brought to you by Montana Decoy. I mean, they are my secret weapon for bagging both turkeys and deer. Check them out at montanadecoy.com. And of course, buy both Costa sunglasses and Radians Outdoors. Each of them have sent me gear that I actually use. I live for my Costa sunglasses. And the fact that they'll put my prescription lenses in their polarized frames is a lifesaver. You can always check out huntfishtravel.com/huntingcabela's, no apostrophe, for a list of all the products that I've purchased to use this year. And I just added some for camping gear. I've got some great interviews coming up. Next week, we're talking to Dave Stewart on the Wet Fly podcast. He stops by and tells us a great story. He talks about fly fishing in Oregon and some upcoming fly fishing clinics here in Wisconsin. So be sure to subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube and hit that notifications bell. Back to the Hunt, Fish, Travel Podcast. You guys, I'm so excited to have Jana Waller on the line here today. We were just talking about, it has been 2017 since she's been on the show.
A lot has happened since then. You got time for a 5-hour podcast?
I do, as a matter of fact, because I want to hear all of it. Well, let's. Yeah, okay, so let's introduce, for the folks who haven't been listening since 2017, which is weird because y'all should just go back and listen to the episode. That was one where we talked about your moose hunt in Alaska, and that was insane. So you always have the best adventures, so I'm excited to have you on the show to talk about Utah and your goat hunt. Well,
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. We have a lot to catch up on, and since 2017, I took my show from Sportsman's Channel to digital, which has been such an amazing move because if they miss the show, when it's on network TV, you might catch it in reruns in a month, but that's it.
Yeah.
And now with digital, Carbon TV is just like YouTube. It's free for everybody. There's no subscription, no payments, free for everybody. You can watch it on your big screen TV. We can talk later about that. But so since I've talked to you, we've gone digital, and it's been a really great move. It was a little tricky, when I was nervous about going all digital. I was 9 years on the Sportsman's Channel, but it's been a super awesome move. Life is good, and we connected because of my, Utah goat hunt.
Yeah.
So, we could dive into that or anything else you want to chat about.
I don't even know where I saw it. It must have been like maybe in, I don't know, Facebook or something like that. And I was like, oh, yeah, man, she goes on the best hunts. Well, let's talk about the show a little bit. Tell the listeners how long it's been on the air, and with the move to going digital, has that I mean, anybody who has looked into buying airtime on, say, Sportsman's Channel or Outdoor Channel, it's like insanity, the amount of money that you have to
Yeah.
come up with. So how does that free up resources now that you're digital?
Yeah, that's a great question. It is such a different business model. So when I was airing season 9 on the Sportsman Channel of Skullbound TV, I decided to toy around with Carbon TV. So I put Skullbound Chronicles on Carbon TV. And really the first season of Skullbound Chronicles was highlights from the previous 9 seasons of Skullbound. My moose hunt, grizzly encounters, just lots of really cool highlight shows. And that did so well that I decided to jump from the network to digital because for multiple reasons. One is the business model you just said. You don't pay for airtime on Carbon TV. That frees up a ton of money. You don't pay closed captioning. You don't pay all these other fees. It's a lot easier for your editor to put a show together. I've done an 8-minute episode. I've done a 35-minute episode. TV is 22 and a half minutes or however many spots of airtime, that commercial time you buy. But it's about 22 to 24 minutes of content. And so you're constricted within that. So that's been a complete benefit. And it's free for everybody. It's so much fun. I have a lot of people, especially with COVID and trying to cut their bills, they've cut their DirecTV, their cable bill. And so now it's not just an app on your phone. Carbon TV, you can put on your mainstream TV. If you have a Roku stick or a Fire Stick, you simply go into their settings and add channel, type in Carbon TV, boom, add it right to your Netflix, your Amazon, your Hulu. And if you have a Vizio TV or a Samsung TV, same thing. You can go right into the apps and add it. And so now I feel like in the last couple of years since they've done those add-ons, Carbon TV has just exploded.
Yeah.
They have a whole podcast section. They have all hunting, fishing, outdoor programming. And they also help me develop my own fast channel. So a fast channel is literally almost 15 years of Skullbound TV and Skullbound Chronicles on a rotator.
Wow.
And that fast channel is on Carbon TV under their live heading. It's also on 31 other networks like Local Now. There's Sports TV. There's tons of these networks are really going digital. So they need content. And so we have Skullbound Chronicles, which is my on-demand. You get to pick and choose what you want to watch. And then I have the Skullbound TV Fast channel, which is you never know what you're going to get. And you have to sit through some commercials, but I leave it on when I'm in the gym or when I'm cleaning the house and just to see what episodes come on. And it's kind of fun to have them all in one spot, just rotating.
That's neat.
So yeah, it's been a lot of changes since we've last talked, but I love that I'm able to say anybody, anywhere can watch Skullbound.
And how does that free you up too? Because with it not being so structured with the 22 or 23 minute time frame, how does that free you up when you are out in the field? Are you more like, I don't know, like, do you enjoy the
Like
hunt
conscious?
more than be like, okay, well, we
Yeah.
need this and we need this shot and we need this shot because we got to get 23 minutes and
Yeah. I've actually I've never really had the mentality I've got to get this and this and this. My whole motto, if you will, it was just to be authentic as I can be. And I'm one of these hunters who I love the entire journey. I love the planning. I love the scouting. I love the researching on Onyx maps. I love, I love, even after the hunt, the field dressing, the pack outs. So I've never been shy on content, almost too much. Like, how do you boil it down? The biggest challenge with network TV for me was, how do I boil it down? I had to cut out so much.
Oh,
And
wow.
like for my goat hunt example, that's season 6, episode number 1 of Skullbound Chronicles on Carbon TV. That's a 30-minute episode. And that's because it was a 17-day hunt. And we still had to chop it down because we had so many amazing encounters. It wasn't the kind of hunt where you saw tons of other wildlife, but we were finding tons of goats, lots of nannies, lots of kids. And it was in the Uintas here in Utah. And so it is spectacular. It is one of the country's biggest destinations for hikers. There's hiking trails everywhere because it's like you're in Glacier National Park. It's absolutely gorgeous. So it was challenging to get it just to around 30 minutes, but it
Right.
does, you're right, it does free me up. Like a couple seasons ago, I wanted to show people that we eat bear. I love bear. I'm a monster bear hunter. I hunt bears more than any other big game species. So we did a how to can bear meat, and you can literally use that for any other meat, venison, elk, antelope, whatever. But we did a how to can, and I can't remember how long that episode is, but it really gives Carbon TV or YouTube, those style of networks really give you the freedom to put out episodes how you want to put them out, short and sweet or long format.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. And there's so much, I really feel like there's a lot of variety on my show. I try to always show everything from archery elk hunting to catching monster sturgeon fish in Oregon to turkey hunting to all kinds to, Rocky Mountain bighorn rams, goats, moose, you name it. And I think variety is really fun and good. And then I also, for season 4, I put together all of my favorite veteran hunts. Because I usually take 1 or 2 veterans out every year who are typically combat warriors, who typically have, not always, but typically have 1 or 2 legs amputated or an arm missing or some kind of disability like that, and take them elk hunting or turkey hunting. And so I put my favorite veterans in one huge season, and that's season 4. And, it's just so fun to have that kind of creative ability on Carbon TV.
For sure. Well, especially, and I would think that with you being the producer, director, host of the show and everything like that, it's got to be really cool compared to especially some of these shows that are on like network TV and stuff. It's got to be really cool and really empowering to be able to say, this is what we're going to film. This is where we're going to go. This is what we're going to do because I'm the boss.
Yeah, it is really nice to have all that creative control. And I have the best partner now in the business, Heath Hilgert, his H2O Productions. We are a 2-man band. I do hire a couple other cameramen when he's not available, but he's my main cameraman and he's my only editor. And trust me, there are some episodes where I didn't have a cameraman along. I'm filming my own hunt, or John, my husband, is filming me. And he can take, what they say, chicken bleep and turn it into chicken soup. He is an amazing, he's an amazing editor. And basically I call him my magician. So yeah, it's really fun. And he has a lot of fun. He has creative reign to make the episode as short, as long as he wants to. It's never boring because he doesn't ever have to put anything in there he doesn't want to. And at the same time, there's that creative reign to make it super long if you want to, kind of a long form. 30 minutes is a long time for a hunting show without any commercials in it. And I'll tell you, I think the goat hunt is one of the best that he's ever done because of the scenery, of the wildlife, of the unique species. A lot of people don't get to hunt mountain goats in the lower 48. And I'm really, really proud of that one. Heath did an amazing job.
Let's dive into the hunt itself. I'm assuming it's a draw. I'm assuming it's some kind of a lottery.
No, it's not actually. So this is a really unique situation that I had this last year. I have never ever done this before. So John and I had planned, we were engaged. We were going to get married this summer. We were looking for a house in Utah. And so I sold my house in Montana. Still peak market, which was a complete blessing. I think I'm actually the only one who's actually moved out of Montana, but because Montana is Montana. But I did really well on the sell of my house. And so I actually got above my asking price. And so John and I were talking about how much a mountain goat costs nowadays. And they're anywhere from, $15,000 to $25,000, depending on where you're going, the outfitter, other add-ons. And then you got flight costs. I've got to fly my cameraman there, and then you've got to tip your guide, and that's how they make a living. You're talking
for sure
a minimum of a 10% tip. And so we added it up, and I thought, geez, if I could get a mountain goat conservation permit at one of these auctions, it's going to be cheaper than going on a goat hunt, say, in Alaska. So I went out, my husband's an auctioneer. I go to 50 different auctions a year. The first mountain goat tag that I went after was above my set limit price range, so I didn't get it. But the second auction I went to, I got it for below my set price range. And so, I got to hunt goats in my brand new home state of Utah.
Amazing.
And it was amazing.
So cool.
It really was. It was so fun. 2023 was actually the slowest hunting year I've ever had because I moved twice. I moved to Utah once into John's old house. Then we found another house, moved again. We got married. I knew I had this goat tag, which I wanted to set aside at least a month for. Thank goodness I did. It was 17 days. And then I just didn't have a lot of other tags this year. And so that goat hunt really just saved my year. It was one of the most incredible hunts I've ever been on. And to be able to move to Utah and hunt it in basically my backyard. It was only an hour and a half away from my house. So it was so cool. It was really, really amazing.
Well, that's cool. Okay. So the tag was resident, obviously.
Yeah, it was a conservation tag. Yep, set aside. And all those dollars go back to that species too, which is really awesome. Like they keep all the money goes back to the species. They get to decide how to spend those dollars on the species, studies or relocation projects or habitat. But yeah, it's a conservation tag. And I had a long time. The hunt's a really long hunt. I could start in, I didn't start till later just because of other commitments that I had, but I think you could have started the end of August, beginning of September. We scouted for 4 solid days before I had Heath come up to start the hunt, to film it. And it's funny, on that 3rd day of scouting, we found a great billy, and he was collared. We actually called Fish and Game. While it is completely legal to take a collared goat, I didn't really want to, because I know I've been on collared studies. I've worked with a biologist. I know how hard it is and it's, like I said, completely legal. I've never talked to a biologist who says, please don't shoot the collars, because they don't want it to interrupt the hunt in any way, shape, or form. I just felt weird about it because I knew that if this was an active collar, it's going to be the end of the data that they're collecting.
For sure.
And that's just how I feel about it personally. And so anyway, we called Fish and Game, and they had no active collars on that mountain. So this was a dead collar, probably meaning a pretty old billy. And the long story short is, so I had 5 days in between that 4 days of scouting for when Heath got down here to start filming. And we set up camp. We hunted all day. We didn't find them. The next morning, we're high up on the mountain, and I get a text. And it's funny because this is actually a very small industry. So we are a small family of hunters. A friend of a friend of a friend saw this guy's post, and another hunter ended up getting that collared billy, which has actually turned out to be great. I've talked to the guy, super nice guy. I'm really happy for him that he was able to get in there and get this goat. And it just extended my hunt. And it was challenging after that, finding, a billy. So it did last 17 days, but in those 17 days, we just had the most incredible time in the mountains. And so even though I had 3 panic attacks during the hunt, because we were literally dangling off the side of a cliff, especially on the day I got my goat, it was terrifying. I'm not kidding. It was terrifying. This was the only hunt I've ever been on where I really was a bit afraid for our lives, only because I have a severe fear of heights. I don't like to be up in tree stands. I've done it my whole life.
Wait.
I know.
I have a severe fear of heights, so let's climb mountains and hunt billy goats.
I know, but you got to do it, right? You got to do it.
Yeah.
And it was really thankfully because of my husband, because he was so sweet and encouraging. On day 14 of the hunt, we literally got cliffed out on a cliff. We couldn't go higher. It was straight up in a boulder field, avalanche boulder field. We wanted to get to the backside top. It was the only way up. Otherwise, it was just sheer rock walls. And we were going up, and I finally had to just say, I can't go. I literally can't go any further. That was the first panic attack I've ever had. I never knew it one. My chest got tight. I couldn't breathe. I was afraid to move. And he just kind of helped me, coax me down off the ledge, and it was crazy. And then on the day 17, we spotted this goat. You can go onto my Instagram. On day 1 of scouting, we were on the top of what's called Bald Mountain. It's a very popular hiking spot. Hikers are up there all the time. It's a great bird's eye view all the way around. So we hiked up there and we're glassing, and there's a big, big mountain to our north. And I freeze frame it, and I put a dot where I killed that goat from day 1 of scouting to where I actually killed. If you would have told me on day 1 that that's where I would have killed, I would have said, no way. Nope, we'll look for another one. I'm not going up there. But this is day 17 of the hunt. It's a lot of work, a lot of effort. We broke camp. We set up wall tents and we're camped out the first half of the hunt. And then the other time we were just driving back and forth from the house every day. And then I had other commitments, so it wasn't consecutive. But We ended up getting up there, and when we got to the saddle and we looked across, and there that goat is feeding on this rock slide, like pebble rocks, like black rocks that were like super steep, not big boulders that you can climb around. It was like a sheer slide. And it's amazing to watch these animals. They're jumping
their feet are like double-sided sticky tape.
Exactly.
I mean, it's insane.
It is insane, and it's amazing how they just get around. And
I know.
So when we were only 200 yards, which is nothing across from this. We had to wait till he crossed over to where he had something below him, because otherwise you would have just rolled and rolled and rolled and
oh
you know,
yeah.
I would have. There was
right?
probably a 150 yard slide, then sheer drop off, 1,500 yard drop off to nothing, and his death, my death. Yeah. So I waited till he crossed. You can watch the episode. Thankfully, dropped him in his tracks, and getting over to him, we had to cross the rest of the saddle and shimmy across this ledge. And you know how on video it doesn't really show how steep it is? It doesn't. It doesn't show how the black rock was so hard you couldn't get your feet in or get my poles in. And I was just terrified I was going to go sliding down and not catch on anything. But luckily, John was just so patient and guided me and and he was filming, because we didn't have Heath those last few days. So he just did the most amazing job of filming the kill, filming the going over to him, filming the pack out down. And we got down off that mountain right at dark, thankfully, because getting to and from that goat was pretty treacherous. And, when you're back to the truck and you're safe, you didn't spin an ankle, you didn't break a leg, you got your goat. I can't even tell you the amount of just free of stress and anxiety and elation, and nothing else gives emotions of that degree. That spectrum of joy, elation, fear, gratitude. Nothing brings it all together after you've done a super hard hunt like that. And I'm still so grateful to this day.
I think it's so badass that you're like, I don't give a shit if I'm afraid of heights. I'm still going after this goat. And then pulled it off. And I just can't even, I mean, you go deer hunting or turkey hunting, and sometimes that's a pain in the ass, but that's a whole other level of an amazing hunt. And what a great experience.
It truly was. It was one of my top 3. And that's hard to say. I've loved every adventure I've ever been on. And it's funny. I'm not at all downgrading turkey hunting or deer. I live for it. I love for it. I was on the treadmill this morning, and my episode I was watching. I always turn my fast channel on. I forget. I mean, I'm getting old. I forget what episodes I've done. It's no joke. And I did a turkey episode that was one of the most heartfelt, meaningful, beautiful episodes I've ever done. It was with Greg Stubbe. He, Green Beret, got blown up in a Humvee accident. And the ending of that episode, I don't want to give it away, but you can actually go watch it. It's on my all veteran season on Skullbound Chronicles on Carbon.
Okay.
The ending of that, I was crying on the treadmill this morning. Just the way he articulated, it's just being surrounded by turkey. It was just a really, really amazing moment. So they all have all hunts. I don't care what they are. I don't care if you're duck hunting, bird hunting, deer hunting, elk hunting. They all mean something, and they all have special moments that are just, I cherish, so much. But when this kind of hunt, whether, my bighorn ram hunt was 17 days as well. It's super challenging. DIY, this goat DIY, those kind of challenging type of hunts really, to me, leave such a lasting impression. And they're literally highlights of my life. Yeah. And the only other better moments than that I've had in my life are when I can watch my veterans, who, I don't care if they're double, triple amputee, walk up on their elk and grip that elk, and I did it, I can do it moments. Those are just as important, are just highlights of my life. And I'm so lucky that I've been able to have them.
That's so cool. It's really cool that most people just go to their 9-to-5 job and they punch their paycheck.
Oh, I did that too.
Florida once a week. Yeah, right? But now you have this great career where you could just put all your energy and love and passion into. And it's awesome that we get to experience it with you. when we're watching the TV shows.
That's so sweet. I thank you very much for that. It has been a complete blessing. To be completely honest, like, I've been hunting my whole life. You know, bird hunting when I was a kid. I picked up a bow when I was a freshman in college. So I've been bow hunting, 32 years. And it has been a total blessing to have that as a passion, as a hobby, something I do with my dad. Like, it's bonded my father and I like nothing. Yeah. But then to have this career the last 14, 15 years, it really has been a blessing. I worked for Edward Jones for 10 years in the financial industry. I worked in outside sales before that. Oh, and, you know, I put in, I don't think I could ever go back to an office. I put in those years though of working in an office. And even though those were great careers and a great job and I learned a lot, this career has been such a blessing. I'm still shocked I'm doing it. I have to be completely honest. When I started Skullbound with my ex-boyfriend, the average TV show is 3 years. That's how long they last on network. And so I'm like, yeah, we'll do this for a few years. That's kind of what I thought. And I never really went into it with, you know, this major plan or this big goal setting vision board. You know, I never really did that. I've just always gone into it with an attitude of trying to be super authentic, be me. You know, I'm a really kind of goofball. So I if you've watched my show enough, you'll figure that out. But I've just always tried to have fun in the moment and have fun. You know, whether you're antelope hunting and you come across a porcupine, to me, that's like an awesome day. Like, I'm obsessed with porcupines, but you know, just finding appreciation in the entire process has always kind of been a thing for me. And I really do believe that the key to life in general, whether it's hunting, whether it's your family, is gratitude, is like just being thankful for our health. Are thankful for your home, thankful for your family, your friends, and honestly, the veteran hunts have just solidified all that. I'm so thankful for my health. I watch these guys. Eric Galvin, one of my favorite human beings, is a triple amputee. He is a stay-home dad now. He's a badass Marine. He stepped on an IED, and he doesn't even have a prosthetic on his right arm, but he has prosthetic legs. But just to get up every day and like, he's such a warrior and he's such an amazing, happy human being. Yeah. So thankful to be alive. Jonathan Blank, he's a Marine I took who literally has no legs. He climbed that mountain like such a badass. Like, I think of those men and women. There's a couple women that I've taken hunts too that were like combat medics or security and, you know, just were on deployments, which are really hard. It just makes me appreciate so much my family, my friends, my health, our freedoms. And this career has been just such an incredible blessing. And I can't believe I'm still here.
It really is awesome to hear you because you and I both, I'm sure, have met many people who aren't as humble and aren't as grateful for some of the things that they've been able to experience that the average person doesn't get to. They could, but you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So it's great hearing you say that. You are such a great role model for women in the outdoor industry. You always have been. I have always loved having you on the show because you're a great interviewee. So, and that helps. But honestly, so what would you, if you had any advice to give anyone who was interested in, say, even starting their own TV show and probably going the digital route? I love Outdoor Channel, Sportsman's Channel, all of them, but I feel like they really are going the way of the buffalo. I do everything on my phone these days. I freaking work my day job a lot of times on my phone, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So what would you give, like, what do you think would be a great piece of advice for somebody who's interested in starting out in this industry?
I think the first thing I would recommend is to ask themselves, what are their true intentions? I've always, I read a book, I'm almost embarrassed to say it, probably was 30 years ago, called Seat of the Soul. I actually saw it on Oprah, which is also embarrassing because I can't imagine myself watching Oprah these days. But I did. Gary Zukav wrote Seat of the Soul, and in that book, it's about life, but he talks about intention and what is the power of your intention. If it's to get famous and make money, I would say don't do it because it's probably not going to happen.
TikTok is for you.
Yeah. Well, if that's your true intention, there's other routes to go to get that better than the hunting industry. But if your intention is to just share your passion and share your love, my number one thing then would be to look at your intention and then to stay authentic. I have always believed that people have an energy about them. And, have you ever met someone right off the bat and you like fall in love with them? You're like, oh my gosh, they're so great. It's because they have this pure energy.
Yep.
And it's deeper than how they look, saying what they said. It's truly an energy about them. And it's on the flip side of that, we've all met people who were like, gee, what an a-hole, or just felt negative, or they were arrogant or whatever. And you just got a bad feeling about them. We all have an energy about us. And I feel like the more authentic we can be as human beings, as individuals, the better off it's going to be. And that can translate to podcasts, TV shows, your social media. I would recommend people just stay authentic. I've always joked that I am, now I'm going to have a brain freeze right now, where it's master of none. Where it's like, I know how to do a lot
Jack of all trades and master of none.
Exactly. Jack of all trades, master. Yeah. I've always said that's me because I've never claimed to be an expert by any means. I'm not I bow hunt, I rifle hunt, I pistol hunt, I muzzleloader hunt. I'm not an expert at all of those weapons. I'm truly not.
And you're not a bow hunting elitist? Oh.
Well, yeah. That yeah, but I would just stay authentic, learn the business. It's really hard to make it a full-time job. Not impossible by any means, but learn the business. Talk to people who are doing what you want to do, whether you want to do a show, whether you want to, I've met a bunch of people lately who really just want to work for the gun industry. And whether it's they want to work for a Nosler in building rifles because they have this beautiful rifle division now, or they want to make, they're maybe private loaders, but they'd love to go work for a bigger company. There's a lot of things to do inside the hunting industry. I would just say to talk with people who are doing what you want to do. Ask what their road and their journey was like, because it's very different. If you asked a dozen TV show people of their journeys, you're going to get 12 different stories.
Yeah.
So talk to people who are doing exactly what you want to do. And then honestly, you've got to learn the business and how the business works. And I wouldn't jump into it in terms of making you money or a career until you've got some pretty solid sponsorships lined up with contracts in place, because it's a very competitive world. Now, that being said, there's, new shows hitting the market every day and that are successful and have found a way. That's just the advice I would give, is to be authentic. What are your intentions? And then to really try to speak with as many people who are, living your dream and what do you want to do, and see how they did it. And trust me, I'm no social media expert. I'm no digital expert by any means. In fact, all my friends know me as a complete techie idiot. And I have just kind of figured out what works for me. I hope that helps anybody listening who wants to follow their dreams. Life is really short. Trust me. I still look at, I was at Hunt Expo this past weekend, sitting with a bunch of college age kids. And I'm still thinking, oh, you're like me. I'm like you. We're together. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like 10 years older than your parents. So before you know it, life is going to go by too short. So follow your dreams, but do it in a smart way that you can, develop a good plan to make them successful.
I think that's absolutely perfect. I feel like in this decade, since 2020 and forward or whatever, I feel like authenticity is definitely the name of the game, especially compared to, say, 10 years ago, where, boy, the pressure was on to be perfect, and especially in a male-dominated industry, and God help, I feel like today the viewers are a little more forgiving if you're not looking perfect or act whatever, you know what I mean? Like, just being yourself. You're not super uber professional. Oh, she's not taking it seriously. Why? Because I cracked a joke,
Yeah.
I really think that's great advice, especially in our culture as it is today.
And you're going to have to have thick skin. Honestly, if you're wanting to start a show or even have a podcast, or you want to be social media famous, you better have thick skin, because trust me, I mean, oh Lordy, I have from hiring an attorney, to send a cease and desist letter to this guy who was just being a complete a-hole and harassing me in year 2, to having over 5,000 people on my block list on Facebook and Instagram. Literally.
Right.
Like if anyone, I'm really open to discussion. And if anyone says a comment like, oh, I thought mountain lions were, on the endangered list, that's a question. I'm happy to dialogue with them. If someone is rude, this is my social media. I don't have to allow anybody on my page. So that's another piece of advice, that if you're going to put yourself out there, which it takes, even just social media, it takes a lot to put yourself out there. You got to get thick skin. And if someone's being rude, block them, ban them. That's what I don't. Ooh, this is the best piece of advice. This comes from Melissa Bachman, my girlfriend, Melissa Bachman.
Okay.
Do not turn them in. Like on Facebook or Instagram where it says, report this person or report this account. Do not do that, because she did that a lot because she was getting a bunch of harassment like we all do. And she was like, oh, report these harassing death threats. Well, Facebook came back, this is years ago, but Facebook came back at her and said, we see you're getting death threats. We can't protect you. We're going to shut your page down. And she had to start all over. Yeah.
Oh my God.
So her and I had this talk years ago, and I tell everybody about this conversation. Do not report other accounts. Just block them or ban them, and then erase their rude comment. It's your social media. Do whatever you want with it. You don't have to allow someone who's being a jerk on your page. And that was great advice from her. So hopefully that'll help some people.
I report them all. So that is interesting.
Yeah.
I guess I never really
because they can shut you down because if they see a bunch of threats, and the antis love to C word, B word, and they're not talking cute or beautiful, you know what they are. So just
they're very creative.
Yeah. And now they have the feature where it says block them and any accounts they create.
Right.
Make sure you hit that one, because they've all got about 50,000 fake accounts.
Totally.
So.
I know. Well, that's perfect. That's great advice. I guess I never really thought about the whole reporting part of it. That totally makes sense.
Yeah.
And it's a crazy world we live in these days.
It is. So get yourself some thick skin. No matter what, you're going to have, I always say, there's the guy. That's what we say. There he is. You're always going to have one jerk. Oh, there was a jerk yesterday. Yeah. There was a jerk yesterday. My buddy posted a picture holding my beaded skull. And now, mind you, they're not for everybody, right? It's a bedazzled skull, and it's actually a replica. It's not even, you wasted a beautiful, it's a first of all, it's a replica. Second of all, someone likes it because they paid $7,500 for it.
Right.
And I've raised over $110,000 total for them. So somebody likes it. But don't a jerk to come out and say that. Those are so ugly. What a waste. That kind of stuff. Bye. Block, ban. There's always that guy. And it's not necessarily always a guy.
I just don't get it. I just scroll past if I see something stupid or something. I'm like, I am not going to give my energy to this. But these people, I just don't. They just have no life. So they should learn to hunt and get out in the outdoors more.
Well, what is so true is that no one who is happy in life does that. Right. No one who lives a great, happy life, who is happily married, has a wonderful family, good job, really taking on life and soaring. No one who is in that position goes online and says rude stuff to people. So, dude, you're only pointing out what a miserable life you lead. Truly. I can't even imagine. And there are times I see something and I'm like, oh, give me a break. Or I'm like, that's so stupid. Whatever. I would never say that. I would never comment that way. We all are open. We all are human beings. We have our own opinions. But the rudeness, I just think it's honestly also our culture and era that we live in. A lot of parents are not teaching manners to people. There's a lot of youth that don't understand politeness and manners. Now, there's a lot that do, but that don't understand politeness and manners in this social media world that, my gosh, I don't even think I had my first cell phone until I was late 20s. And now kids are literally living their life on social media, and there's etiquette that comes with that. Who's teaching social media etiquette? No one.
Right. Oh, yeah, because they can get away with it. They can make the comment and turn it off, where if they said that to somebody on the playground, they might end up with a fat lip.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's not a bad thing. There's it's funny. You see that meme that says, I can tell your parents never spanked you. Yeah. Well, look, I'm not into, physical violence by any means, but I grew up in the era, Leave it to Beaver, man. You did not talk back to your parents. I got spankings all the time, and thank God for that.
Right? Half the time you didn't even get spanked. All they had to do was hold up the brush, and your mom gave you the look, and you're like, oh God.
I do remember the last spanking I got is when I laughed at my dad. That was the last one. No. Then you realize that's not really effective anymore. But it truly was, putting the fear into your children. There's nothing wrong with that. But I do really think that social media, going along with what we were talking about, if someone wanted to, start a brand or start a show, and obviously social media has to be a big part of that nowadays. You cannot not start a company without social media. You got to get thick skin, and you got to, be prepared for the negativity, block, ban them. And I once in a while, I remind someone, I did this guy yesterday, and I just said, do you have any idea how rude you are? Like, that is completely rude.
Necessary? Yeah.
Yeah. And you're welcome to your own opinions, but you must have missed that part in kindergarten where it was, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it. You know?
I get it. That's great advice, though. Yeah, seriously, social media. If I didn't have a podcast, I probably would have deleted it many moons ago.
I say that all the time. I do. When I'm on hunts, like we're going on a grizzly hunt in June, and we will have no service for 10 days. I can't wait. Like, it's just glorious. Like, as much, I do love social media for the benefits of it. Staying in touch with friends. I've met some amazing people. And obviously, I work for 14 companies. I work for the companies that support me through my show, through social media. I've got to be on there. But man, is it nice to get a break every now and then. Yeah. And just get back to reality, to get into the mountains or the woods, what's real, minus the crazy last 20 years we've been living in. Even 50 years, get back to what's real. What everyone on earth before us lived through, gathering their own food and watching the, crick Babylon and, just hearing the bugles in the woods, back to what is totally real and has been the same, for thousands of years. I think there's so much more to hunting than the non-hunters understand. It's not about pulling the trigger. It's truly about getting into nature, connecting yourself to the people around you, to the woods, to Mother Earth. It's all of that. It really is. And social media can be a great thing, but it can be quite the burden as well.
It's a soul suck, that's for sure sometimes.
Yeah.
Ugh, yeah, I get it. All right. Well, we are bumping up against time here. So why don't you tell the listeners and the viewers where they can find out more about your show? And I will, of course, I'll post in the show notes all the links to your show and your social media and your website and everything. But why don't you give them the rundown?
Sure. So I have two different shows. They can watch Skullbound Chronicles, which is on demand on Carbon TV, and you can watch it through their free app or on your TV through a Roku stick, Fire Stick, or if you have a Vizio or Samsung TV, you can simply go into the settings and add Carbon TV. That's where all the shows. I also have my Skullbound TV Fast channel, and the two easiest places to watch that's all of my episodes from the past almost 15 years circulating. They can find that under the live tab on Carbon TV, or my favorite platform to watch it under is on Local Now. And the same thing with how I just said, you can plug Local Now on your Roku, Fire Stick, Vizio, Samsung TVs, and that you can watch my Fast channel. It is a little hard to find on Local Now. It's in the 2000s. I think it's 2112. There are thousands of free channels on Local Now. And I'm under the sports category, as weird as that is. But and then it's just me on my social media. I run Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. It's either under Skullbound or Skullbound Chronicles. And it's me. If you want to send me any messages or comments, it's just me running it. So that's where you can find me.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for taking the time out to come on the show. As always, it has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me. And next time we won't wait so long.
I know, for real. I think we should. The fact that it's been like 7 years is ridiculous.
We need to have an annual podcast.
I know. The last 2 years I have not made ATA. And every year I'm like, I'm going to go to ATA and I'm going to sit down with all my friends and we're going to do these podcast episodes. And then we never do. Yeah. I swear I need to make
Life gets in the way.
For real.
Yeah.
So great. Thank you. Thank you. All right.